Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Welcome to the party, pal!
Welcome to another edition of Yippee-ki-yay, Mother Podcast. I'm Ralph Quartucci.
I'm Sean Paul Murphy.
I'm Debbie Murphy.
I'm Brad Barowie.
I'm John Quattrucci.
And I'm Drew Gold.
Oh, interesting. We're always giving away the movies. All right, everybody have a good week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, a little reminder to our viewers and people who are listening to us. We do spoil the movies we talk about. Okay?
Ooh.
So even though this movie came out, 1998 we're about to do tonight?
99.
Yep.
So that's a few years if you haven't seen it. Anyway, spoilers. But
Hey,
before
while
we
you're saying
talk,
that, Ralph, subscribe, share, hit the notification button.
yeah,
It
we're
really
getting
does
some
help.
views. Young
Does help us.
Frankenstein, everybody needs to check out that one. That's getting a
Yeah.
lot of views. Be nice to
Big
get some
hits.
comments.
Great commenting on that, Ralph. Excellent job.
Thank you, John. I appreciate
Yeah, and
that.
also say you like it because more people dislike it than like it.
Sean's
I
got a
think
great point. Make
Sean
sure you
is
like
right.
it. Thanks,
Sean
Sean.
is right about that one. Good job,
Yeah.
Sean. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Ralph, and thank you, John.
Okay. All right. We're going to start with Drew. Drew, what'd you watch this week?
Well, Ralph, I watched a number of things. One of the things that I watched, I'm not going to actually talk about because I got bored halfway through, but I was very disappointed. It's the
Come on.
Showtime documentary about the Go-Go's called The Go-Go's.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
I
the
like that.
director of Laurel Canyon, which Sean and Debbie enjoyed, but it didn't do it for me.
Oh, I really
And
liked it.
I mean, I like the Go-Go's, but it was very this happened, then this happened, then this.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
So that didn't work for me. Also, one show that I'm not going to talk about this time because I've only watched 2 episodes, but I am in love so far with The Queen's Gambit on Netflix. That is spectacular. And
I've heard a
then
few
I
people
found
say
out
that's
who
really
actually
good.
made it, and it's a Scott Frank show. And I was like, well, of course I love it, but I'll talk about it when that's done. So let's see. I watched one movie recommended on the podcast, Hunt for the Wilder People, which I had on my list for some time, and I quite enjoyed. It's got a great cast. And I also watched Denial, which was the movie from, I think, 2016. It's Rachel Weisz's,
Oh, and
and Timothy Spall and Tom Wilkinson about David Irving putting her on trial for calling him a Holocaust denier. And it's a good movie. It's a good courtroom drama. But what's really fascinating is all of the courtroom dialogue is straight from the transcripts. And you can feel the drama of the way that they're playing the courtroom game, and you can see the differences between how it works in England versus in the United States, and that was really neat. And then the only other thing I'll mention is I listened to an episode of WTF with Mark Maron. John, I know you like me to give you extra stuff. That's why I'm doing it, John. His latest episode is an interview with Frank Langella, who I've mentioned in the past.
That cool.
And it's a really wonderful interview. Frank Langella is just an incredible actor and really thoughtful, and his comments and his sense of humor and his very unexpected, I would say almost Alan Rickman-y dry level of humor is really nice. So that's definitely worth a listen. It's not the best podcast. That's what you're listening to right now, but it's a good podcast. So
yeah, he's not bad. Mark Maron's not bad.
he's not bad. He's
And by the way, I love Rachel Weisz. I love watching
Oh,
her.
yeah.
She's
wonderful.
really good. Even her, like when she did The Mummy and stuff like that. And Constantine, did you ever see Constantine with?
That movie
Keanu
was
Reeves.
surprisingly good, and she's
I
really
love-
good at it.
I love that film. Love that film. Thank you, Drew. Debbie and Sean, your square is up. What do you got?
Well, we were watching Ride to High Country, which was one of the some people consider Sam Peckinpah's best film. It's about 2 aging lawmen played by Joel McCrea and Randolph Scott, who are going to escort a gold shipment. And Randolph Scott has a bit of larceny. He's trying to convince him, look, we've put in enough time for the good sky. Let's reward ourselves with this money. And I was watching, I'm thinking, wow, because I'm Peckinpah and I'm very sensitive to women's issues because of this podcast. Peckinpah films are kind of brutal towards women, kind of rapey. And I'm like,
Kind of.
well, this one seems to be okay until Marriott Hartley gets to the camp where she's going to marry this guy. And her suitor has 4 brothers. One's played by Warren Oates, another by L.Q. Jones, and another guy who was in Wild Bunch, and they all expect to enjoy The Bride too, much to her horror. So I'm like, oh, it's really not that different than all the other Sam Peckinpah films. But it's a really good film. It's nice to see these two aging actors, Joel McRae and Randolph Scott, in these roles. And it's another changing West film, much like Wild Bunch, but without the huge amount of violence. What did you think of the movie, Debbie?
Yeah, I like the scenery. I like the old westerns to see this big sky and, to imagine how things were back in those days. The things were very, things like that probably did happen out west.
And you liked it. And one thing she definitely liked was like the clothes were all threadbare. Usually you see a lot of Hollywood Westerns.
Yeah, they
and
look fun,
everyone's got these nice clothes. And you sit there and look and like, how did they keep those clothes that clean?
Yeah.
Oh. People only bathe themselves once a week. You know what I mean? If that. So, I'm not saying people were intentionally dirty, but it's a nice film. Not as not almost as misogynistic as Sam Peckinpah's other films. And I suspect I'll be bringing in a Sam Peckinpah film, either Wild Bunch or Straw Dogs.
I know all these good ones are starting to. I'm getting it's too much sugar. We're too happy. These movies are too happy. We got to get back into some darkness. Brad, what do you got in your Brad Single Square?
Okay.
How do you feel all by yourself with it? You okay?
Oh, I'm good.
Good.
So Ralph, we've been watching Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
Oh,
So
And?
near the end of it, I've been enjoying that. It's
Hunting or haunting?
Haunting.
Haunting of Hill House.
A Haunting of Hill House. Yeah. So I think it's based on the 50s movie, right?
It's based on the Shirley Jackson novel.
Yeah.
Which I was reading. And
They made a movie. They did make a movie. So is it a miniseries, Brad?
It's a miniseries. It's 10 episodes. Mike Flanagan, I think did it. He did.
Is that your
Yeah.
buddy,
as
Sean?
well.
Bowie.
Yeah.
Would you like that?
I know him.
He's a
We
local,
kind of
right?
discovered it.
Not to be confused with the pitcher for
discovered
the
Mike
Orioles.
Flanagan.
We saw his Oculus movie.
Yeah.
And we
his
said
earlier ones, too.
the early Oculus movie and his early ones. And we said, there's something about him,
Yeah.
some talent that he's
But
got.
I enjoy the way they tell the story with the back and forth. They're jumping back and forth between when they were kids and now and just the way the story is told is very interesting. I think Ralph, no backstory, not so much backstory until
Nice.
later on. So it's
Yeah,
it's
it
a
was
good.
well reviewed too. It was well reviewed. So
I think it's really well done. It's
nice.
it's
Now, you guys were watching Haunting of Bly Manor.
we did
Or at least,
we watched that as well. Yeah.
did you like that one?
I did. I think this one's probably a little better, but did you? I don't know if anybody else has seen any of them.
I'm 3 episodes into that, and I like it, but it doesn't grab me the way that The Haunting of Hill House did. But
Yeah.
some trusted reviews have said it's worth sticking it out. So
I enjoyed it. I think this one. You probably won't enjoy it as much as this one, but I think it's still worth it.
Well, Mike Flanagan is a real talent, and I know he directed every episode of The Haunting of Hill House. He only directed the first episode of Bly, which is not in and of itself bad. But I mean, I remember you talking about his early movies. He did a home invasion thriller starring, I think that it may not be his wife, called Hush, where she plays
Oh, it's good.
woman and a guy is breaking in. And that is a really simple, tight, kind of nasty, excellent thriller horror movie.
It's See No Evil, but she's deaf.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
great. And he
I
did,
really
he
liked
did
it.
Gerald's Game, which was the Stephen King adaptation.
Another good one.
I'm
Another
so
good one.
tired of Stephen King adaptations, and that was fresh.
And he's got a great
Well done.
curveball. Great curveball.
Dr. Sleep.
We really like Dr. Sleep.
Dr. Sleep was so good, and he got bad reviews or bad box office on
That's a
that.
tough one for him to do. That was a tough one, but
I haven't
I
seen
liked.
that
I
yet.
liked it. I liked the
Is-
film.
Yeah.
Is Doctor Sleep the follow up to The Shining? Is that the?
It's
Yeah.
kind of a kind of. A
Yeah, I've got the
sequel.
book here. I haven't read the book yet.
All right, John, you're up. John.
Well, since
John,
since
He
Drew
was
What's
up.
up?
since Drew set the tone that we can talk about 6 movies instead of just one.
I think I only did 5, and one of them
whatever.
was a podcast.
I
but
did
whatever.
watch.
Whatever,
I'm going
John.
to talk about one, but I did watch 3 things that I really liked. Point Blank with Lee Marvin.
good one.
Sure.
Never seen it.
Yeah.
The remake was Payback.
Yep.
I loved
Yeah.
it. And after doing some research on it, I was like, oh, is he a ghost or isn't he? They don't really give you an answer. But I really like that. I also watched My Favorite Year with Peter O'Toole.
Sure.
Good one.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And he is so good in that movie. But what I want to recommend, it's something I just watched on Amazon Prime.
2 is enough. You're done. No.
I'm sorry, Ralph. What?
Time's up. I'm just kidding. Come on, John.
I'm a big Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. I love Time Cop. Love Time Cop, and the other one when he was in New Orleans, Hard Target.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good
There's
one.
a series on Amazon Prime called Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
That's a fun one too. Yeah.
And it's about 7 episodes, I think. But in this show, he's playing himself. But along with being an actor, he's a special ops guy for the government. So the show is about that. But it's a comedy, and he is really self-deprecating in the whole show. Like there's one scene where he's got this fight he's about to have. And there's like 8 guys there. And he's staring at him. You hear his thoughts. He goes, I've got something that they don't have. And he got, he's famous for doing that split where he gets prone to the floor. He gets about halfway and stops, and it just goes, ugh. And then he gets wailed on. All right. It's really funny. If you get a chance to see it. And he's really, Drew, don't you think he's good in it? He's really
very
funny
good in it. Did you
Yeah.
He's done a couple of those. There's another.
Yeah, but this not like this. He did JVC.
JC,
That's what I was going to say. He did that
which
one
is
too.
like the same thing but serious and surprisingly kind of moving, and he's actually
Yeah.
quite good. So when they did Jean-Claude Van Johnson, I was like, well, that seems like they're just making fun of him, but he's so in on it.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And
Have
I
you
think
seen-
it was made in 2015 or 16, so it's not new.
Right.
But I watched it. It was really funny. I really like
Have
it.
you seen the green screen videos he does on YouTube that you can download and put them in your films?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, he's just him jumping around, shooting.
Oh,
guns.
really?
Yeah, it's awesome. The
No,
other guy,
Ralph, I'll check
Shia
it
Hey,
out.
LaBeouf-
I want to say one thing about Von Damme.
What, Sean?
He may be self-deprecating, but he turned us down on my last film with Pureflix. It was a decent offer too, and he turned us down for the film Black Rider. And then when I read the script as it was rewritten after I saw it, I'm like, yeah, I see why. Ooh, I have my old
Ouch.
Oh,
Ralph,
there you go.
do you have
Wait,
any
hang on.
recommendations
Well,
this week?
Hang on
Go
one
ahead.
second. Since
Go ahead, Drew.
this is the Yippee Ki Mother podcast, I think it bears mentioning that Jean-Claude Van Damme is in one of my favorite Die Hard in a movies. He's in Sudden Death.
Sudden Death is classic.
In the hockey rink?
It's a hockey movie.
That movie is so silly
Hey.
and so fun and so
He
great.
played goalie. He was goalie.
Yeah, he's great. And when his son figures out
I love that film.
the goalie is so funny. It's
Well,
so-
since everybody took so much time, I guess I really have nothing to say, so I'll be done. No,
I seriously.
I'm only going to recommend the one. And this is, I watched this last night. John called me. It's a documentary about the movie we're going to do today called Never Give Up, Never Surrender. And it's the backstory for this film. I won't get into it because we're about to do the backstory of the film and what we thought about it. But it's a really nice addition to watch this film.
It was
the
good,
love-
wasn't it?
The love that was behind the
Yeah.
film and how it all came about is pretty amazing. It really proves the point of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And my favorite quote is right at the beginning where David Mamet listed his 4 best written movies.
perfect. Yeah.
And this was number 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
And The Godfather was number 1. So it just
Perfect
tells you
movies,
where.
I think. Is that what he said?
Yeah, he said
Perfect.
perfect.
I think he said perfect
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
So without
This is-
further ado, John has brought this
A
film
real
to
upbeat movie.
Here we go. What's it
Galaxy
called?
Quest. So this is 1999. Thank you, Ralph, for that introduction, by the way.
You're welcome, John.
So anyone who knows me knows I am a huge Star Trek fan. Huge. I love the original series. I'm a Trekkie. So I'm a big fan of this movie because it is one of the best Star Trek movies that was made, because it's an homage to Star Trek with a lot of love. Because when I first saw it, I thought they were going to really make. Well, let me back up. So
Should
this
we,
movie,
but before you
for
get
those who
started,
haven't-
should we show the trailer or do you want to?
no, yeah, fine. Show the trailer first. That's fine.
All right, hang on.
Ralph, that's fine. I was in the middle of my thought, but that's okay.
I know, but
Let's
we
listen.
can get back. Everybody, you know the drill. You got to be quiet.
Thank you, Ralph and John.
You're welcome, Sean. Thank you.
You're welcome,
Oh,
Sean.
Debbie.
And
Poor
Debbie,
Debbie.
and Brad,
Debbie, we'll
and
stop.
Drew.
Debbie, we'll stop right now. It's over. Done. All right. Here we go. Here's the trailer.
In the far reaches of the galaxy, a civilization is under siege.
We are all that is left.
They've searched the universe for a leader.
Stay tuned for scenes from next week's Galaxy Quest.
Never give up. Never surrender.
He will save us.
What they got
Never give up and never surrender.
were struggling TV actors
You are our last hope.
Where's my limo?
Okie dokie.
And they're about to put on a command performance 8 million light years away.
We are actors, not astronauts.
You are our protectors.
That was a hell of a thing.
Now,
Laredo, take us out.
You gotta move to the right.
Would you sit your ass down? You want to drive this thing?
acting like heroes.
The whole thing was just a misunderstanding.
May not be enough.
They look like little children. Hi, little guy.
I'm done.
DreamWorks Pictures presents Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, Galaxy Quest.
You're just gonna have to kill it. Well, go for the mouth, the throat, his vulnerable spots. It's a rock. It doesn't have any vulnerable spots.
I have to tell you, that's not a very good trailer for this movie.
Oh, it's funny. I had the opposite feeling.
Oh, I don't see it. Anyway.
Well, they didn't know what they had at that point. You can tell.
That's obviously by the trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
They did not know what they had and they weren't sure how to do it. But I just find it quaint. I just thought it was.
Well, what happened was it was going to be a PG-13.
Right.
And because they were in competition with Stuart Little and some other kiddie movie, they wanted it not G, but they wanted it more PG. So they definitely went towards 8 to 12-year-olds. But when you watch the movie, it's really made for adults. It's really not made for kids. So you can see that in the trailer. It's kind of schizophrenic. But anyway, the crux of this story is if aliens thought Star Trek was real, what would happen if they needed people to go to their planet or whatever in space to help them? That's basically what the premise of the whole movie is. So the cast of this show, Galaxy Quest, a TV show that was just like Star Trek, they're at these conventions. And what I liked about this movie, they don't insult the fans. I said this earlier, it's an homage to Star Trek, and the story of Tim Allen's character overhearing something in the bathroom, which kind of turned him off, was a story that came from William Shatner, who Tim Allen's character was based on. So there's some based on fact there. And the way they play it, because everyone knows the Star Trek characters were all typecast for the rest of their lives, pretty much. Some of them embraced it, some of them resented it, and that came across in the characterizations of all the cast in Galaxy Quest. But what I love about this movie is, forget about the concept. It's a really good movie. The special effects are excellent. Industrial Light and Magic did the special effects, and they were top notch. Stan Winston did the creature effects. The main villain looks fantastic, right? And Alan Rickman, who, if you watch the documentary, kind of in real life was like his character. He wasn't sure about Tim Allen. But what's funny about Alan Rickman's character is that thing never comes off his head. You never see him in the movie without that appliance on his head, even when he's at home by himself. I just thought that was funny. And then as the movie progressed, a lot of laughs in it. Tony Shalhoub is really funny. Tim Allen has some funny stuff. The Thermians are really funny. But when it gets towards the end, there's scenes with a lot of heart in it. When the head Thermian finds out that they're not real, they're not really who they say they are, the way Tim Allen played it. And then the scene where one of the Thermians die, and at that point, Alan Rickman says the line by Grabstar Hammer with a lot of feeling and emotion. And this was a line he doesn't want to say through the entire movie, and played it straight, really straight. And it was really powerful. And the other thing is Sam Rockwell in a role that should have just been a throwaway role was hilarious. And he didn't even want to do it because in the documentary, he says, I was so full of myself that I'm like, why am I going to do this movie? But he was hilarious.
But that's where I discovered Sam Rockwell was this movie. I had never seen him.
But it was a red shirt. Anytime you talk about Star Trek, when a red shirt goes down on the planet, you're going to die. So he kept saying that. Now, one other thing that you find out in the documentary, they actually were going to make an Amazon series in 2016, I think it was, and all of them were going to come back. Rickman, Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, they were all going to do it. And then Alan Rickman died. and none of them wanted to do it if he wasn't going to be able to be in it. So I was really disappointed about that. But if you watch the making of this, Harold Ramis was the original director, and he wanted Robin Williams as Tim Allen's role. The studio wanted Alec Baldwin, but the new director they got in wanted Tim Allen. So Harold Ramis met with Tim Allen and ended up leaving the movie. And he said it was the biggest mistake he ever made, because the original script was they compared it to Spaceballs. It was more Takeoff. It wasn't a serious movie like it ended up being, and it wasn't a big budget either. Bless you, Debbie. Are you okay, hon?
Yeah.
You're getting choked up because I'm getting emotional. I'm talking about. I get it. That's cool. But just even watching it again, I was smiling because I've only been to one Trek convention, and I didn't dress up. And the thing about it, I remember LeVar Burton was there, and he's up on the stage, and they're asking him questions. And one of the people asked him this 2-minute engineering question about the Enterprise, like real detailed question. And then LeVar Burton just says, "Look, I'm just reading a script. I don't know this." And I remember that because William Shatner, the famous Saturday Night Live skit, he's at the convention. He says, "Don't you people have lives?" And he took a lot of blowback for that. Well, but in this movie, they embrace the fandom. They don't make fun of them. They embrace it.
Well,
and
they hit every decision that was made, whether it was made on purpose or not, all work. Like even Sigourney Weaver, who forced her way on the movie. She said
they did.
You look at that at first, you go, okay, that's stunt casting. It's Sigourney Weaver from all this, but man, could she play it? You add Sam Rockwell, which I had never seen before. Justin Long, early.
That was
Justin
his first
Long
movie.
kind
That
of.
was Justin Long's first movie.
All the things they did were it all worked. And the documentary you're talking about, they all said the same thing, which is this is basically would have been a Star Trek movie. Would have been a great Star Trek film if they decided to make it. Lindelof was talking about that.
Yeah.
And I told you I said I don't need to watch Galaxy Quest because I've seen it so many times. After I watched the documentary, which is like at 1 a.m, I put Galaxy Quest on.
Yep. Me
and
too.
loved every second of it again. It just the movie kills me.
And Tim Allen was really good in it.
And that scene you're talking about where he breaks down and tells them, the director's telling the story because Spielberg's company to produce this.
Dream Quest.
Yeah, so the director's directing and Tim Allen's getting all dramatic. The two lines that were a riot was the director hears somebody going, "Wow, Tim Allen's really good." And he's going to turn and yell at whoever it is, and it's Steven Spielberg. It's like, what can I say? And then Rickman, I guess Tim Allen got so emotional about it that he had to go back to his trailer, and Rickman says, "Well, I guess he discovered acting." Just a bastard. So, it's lightning in a bottle. We talk about it all the time, and this one nailed it.
And as much as I loved Robin Williams, I think he would have been a little too over the top for this.
Agreed. Well, again, we're looking at this in 20 years or whatever it is. You can't take away who you're seeing, right?
Right.
So you can't imagine anyone else doing the parts.
Yeah.
But he had a few people in there. Bruce
Kevin
Willis
Klein was also
up
up for it.
He might have pulled it off.
Kevin Klein.
Well, that's
Kevin
part of the
Kline
magic.
pulled it off.
Kevin Klein would have been a good choice, I think.
Yeah.
That's except he Kevin Klined, as they said.
That's right.
Right.
That's part of the magic of any movie is that it works at all. And this is an example, especially that's a fine documentary that really takes you back and they interview pretty much everyone that you'd want to hear from. And they did a really nice job of showing you just in the general sense how so much stuff can go wrong. Not in terms of something awful happens on a set or something, but it just doesn't work. That's actually one of the things that Frank Langella talked about in the podcast I mentioned. He says, I've had shoots where the shoot was a love fest and the movie was just trash. And then I've had shoots that were very challenging and then the movie was wonderful. And he goes, but you never know. If I take the job, it's because I believe it can be good. Yeah. And the people who made this movie really believed that it could be something good, even as it changed and fought for it. And it's just, I know exactly why John picked it. As soon as you said that was your choice, I said, well, John responds to movies that make him feel good. And this movie is just pure joy. Mm-hmm. It's just a wonderful, joyful movie. And I love Star Trek and all that
and
stuff.
It's
just a fun, sweet movie.
Goosebumpy. It's a goosebumpy. Like there's goosebumps that happen. You're like, what am I doing? This is ridiculous.
Yep.
But it's just
Did any of you see it in the theater?
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. Good. Here's
the thing about seeing it in the theater, though. I saw it in the theater. Well, I didn't see it the first week or the second week. I saw it in the Dollar House. So I'm trying to think back because as I'm watching it today, and I've subsequently rediscovered it. But as I watched it, it was like, yeah, this is a really good movie. But there was nothing about it, the way it was marketed or promoted, that really made me anticipate seeing it when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
Completely nothing. But as I was watching it again today, I was just struck. It's interesting somebody brought up about how well written and how well constructed this movie is. It's hard to believe that they were considering taking it in other directions, because if Reitman was on it, they probably already had another script. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it probably wasn't
they
the
did.
script
They did,
as it
actually.
exists now.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how well this came off. And frankly, I don't think DreamWorks movies didn't always work. I think they.
It's funny.
That was
because-
only like their fifth movie too, I think. If I remember right.
But this film is really terrific movie.
Yeah, it resonated with me. It's like one of those feel-good movies too, that when you go to a movie and you see something about that film that really hits you. For me, it was the fact that everybody has a job. Yeah. And in your job, you think, I can't do this job. You mentioned editing, and Sean talks about his editing, and you look at the project in front of you or whatever your job is, and you go, how am I going to do it? I can't do this. And you fake it until you make it. You ever hear that one? So you go into your work and you say, I just got to put one foot in front of the other and do it. And Tim Allen just, he when he realized it, he goes, well, I'm going to do this thing. And I think that's resonates with people, everyday life when you're on the job.
That's funny you mentioned about
Sigourney Weaver's line. I've got one job, and that's to repeat what the computer says.
But to get back to seeing the movie theater, it slipped. I mean, it's not one that there was no expectation for it at all. So when you go in, I don't even remember any marketing around this thing.
There was, but it wasn't marketed. It was marketed.
Right, it wasn't.
wrong.
It's like when I walked in and saw Christmas Story in 1982 for the first time. And you walk out going, where was that? I can't believe I didn't know about this film.
Right.
And that's how this one hit me too. It's like
they just didn't know who the audience was going to be. That's why.
And Sam Rockwell just killed it. And
Guy Fliegelman
was great.
Well, I mean, I've mentioned, actually, it's funny that it comes up again. I've mentioned there's a few movies that I was just totally surprised by how much I liked them. And, like The Descent, District 9, Ready or Not, Salt, and this one. I mean, I said, oh, it looks like a Star Trek comedy. That might be funny. But I had no idea. And the fact that it was funny and it was loving, but then also it was a hell of an action movie.
Yeah.
Like you said, like, what, I'm feeling goosebumps at this movie. I'm getting moved by this. What is happening? It was a really exciting thing to feel. And some of those movies, like I remember I saw Office Space in the theater. Again, that's the other thing about this movie. This is 1999. 1999 was a hell of a year at the movies. And this movie stands as tall as any of the great movies of 1999. But when I saw Office Space, there were like 3 other people in the theater. And we were dying and we were looking at each other and like, why are we the only people in the theater?
Yeah.
And I don't remember, I know I saw this in the theater and that I loved it. I don't remember anything about what my experience was with it. I just know it was one of those movies. As soon as I saw it, I said, I'm going to see that again.
Yeah.
I'm going to see.
Yeah. I only saw it because I saw everything in the late 90s. I would see, between 140 and 198 films a year. So I only saw it because it was, it was a movie, I did not seek it out, particularly. That's why I do kind of want to go back and look at the box office on those weeks and see where it was.
Because, it did all right. I mean, it didn't make a lot of money. It made its money back. I think it doubled.
Yeah, it was only $45 million budget, and it made twice that worldwide. Which the fact that movie looks that good and still looks that good.
I can't get over it. That's all they say. Yeah.
I mean,
and that director
for spending a lot of money, because that's Steven Spielberg. Also, Steven Spielberg is a guy that he'll make a movie that is one of the greatest movies ever, and it comes in, ahead of schedule and under budget. So that's the discipline of that company.
Well, that guy directed the new Bill and Ted movie.
Dean Pariseau.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
But he fought hard for they wanted to drop the whole Justin Long part of the film.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg wanted to not, the aliens look like octopi, octopuses.
He wanted them
whatever.
to look like the aliens from Close Encounters.
And they're like, the director's like, no, actually, it was because they didn't have any time. They would have changed it.
Stan
if they
went,
didn't have
yeah.
time. Thank
They said, we
goodness.
only got 3 weeks. We can't do
So
this.
he fought for a lot of things, and his vision was right on, spot on. So
That was a really cool part of the movie because John, you were talking earlier about how they weren't making fun of the fans, and actually they kind of gave him a shining spotlight. You know, he was able to help them.
They ended up being the heroes.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
nerds
exactly.
on the internet with each part of the ship. That was so cool.
And I loved it that he's talking to him. He's like, I know. He's like, I know. I don't really believe this is real. He's like, well, it is. I knew it. Great, I knew it.
I knew it. I knew it. But that
this
scene
movie,
at the end,
yeah.
that scene at the end when he's on the stage and they're taking their applause and he looks down at Justin Long and does that salute to him.
Mhm.
I mean, that was like, oh my God, the dweebs win the universe, you know?
Well, that was one of the things I really liked about it, and they talk about this in detail in the documentary, which is good because this was something that they did on purpose. You know, it's acknowledging the fans without making fun of them.
Right.
The Justin Long part, literally the fans actually saving the day, is just genius. I don't know how they would ever cut that out. But I remember, like, I was more of a Star Wars kid. You guys probably don't realize that I was more of a Star Wars kid.
Oh, who's that?
I was that kind of fan that could tell you, like, I don't remember now that TIE fighters were made by Sinar Fleet Systems and Incom made the T-65B X-Wing fighters and the Nebulon B medical frigate was made by Quattrogers. Like, I don't remember that stuff now, but I think
yes, you do.
I think
I need a nerd alert button. Nerd alert button.
the bell is not dorky enough, but I think I think that to see that and to like that William Shatner speech is in the SNL sketch is funny. And it is funny. Like, I don't look at it and I don't remember seeing it originally and being offended or anything, but it's not loving. And this is really like, you know, we only exist and we only have our career and we only have our lives and we only have the success because of fans without saying we're nothing. I mean, they do something of quality and people respond to it. And that's really wonderful. But it is kind of funny in the documentary, listening to them talk about how this was the world that we now live in before that world existed. I mean, kids getting on the computer and looking at each other on cameras and trading all the information and the schematics and all that stuff. And now those people run Marvel films.
Yeah.
You know, the funny thing is, you know, because I've done a number of movies where you get actors who had achieved success at one level or another. And sometimes they either hate it, you know, they have some pivotal role, or they love it. It is great to run. Like I did 2 films with John Schneider from Dukes of Hazzard. And, you know, he embraces it. You know what I mean? The people, he loves the fans. And unfortunately, when I was at the set of one of the movies, you know, we went and did a little LA tour and we didn't go to the set that day. That day he brought in one of his cars, you know, one of the Chargers, whatever it was, with Dukes of Hazzard all made up. And he was taking pictures with everybody in the cast and crew in it with him. You know what I mean? And so he's that kind of guy. And it's really fabulous that he embraces it, you know.
Well, that's
other
a choice.
people, you know,
That's a
kind of
choice they made in the movie.
General Lee?
Yeah, the General Lee.
Originally, his character was supposed to hate the fact that he's been typecast. And when they brought in a new script writer,
Tim
they
Allen's
said,
character.
what about he loves it and wants to be it again? And that's how they played it. And I love the fact that Tim Allen, she even said the line in the movie, they really love him, don't they? And he was embracing it till he was in the bathroom and overheard them.
Well,
But
you remember, and as the documentary said, he came off that Tool Time show that he had. So Tim Allen kind of fell into that thing where he wasn't as famous because the show was over. And he was again, lightning in a bottle. He was the right guy who understood what it would mean to be in that position and played it.
They wanted an action star who could do comedy.
I knew it was going to be
the
great.
director wanted a comedian who could do action stuff.
That limo scene where he gets in the limo.
Yeah.
And they cut to him laying down in the spaceship and he's drooling. And just the way that rhythm he had when he was hungover was just, that's when I knew the movie was going to be great. I just thought that was
How about when the doors open, it goes to anamorphic.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an incredible, in the movie theater, that was incredible when you saw that.
Anamorphic. What does that?
Wide, super wide screen.
Super wide. So they filmed it in one perspective for the first part of the movie, but when they got onto the ship, when those doors first opened, when he was about to be teleported back, that was anamorphic widescreen. He did that purposely to show
The TV show was all 4x3.
Right.
Yeah, it was
Right,
standard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
there were
played with
three
everything.
aspect ratios in the
Yeah.
film.
He said he made a mistake though because the projectionist wouldn't open the curtain. all the way.
Right. They didn't know to open up the curtain. But
Movie
even the
feels
scene
all
with
of
the
a sudden.
ship in the dock, I mean, it was really impressive. When they're going down the elevator and you see the ship, the special effects were fantastic in this movie.
Yeah, they've aged very well.
Yes,
Yeah.
John, it was very good.
There are so many quotable. Like I quote this movie probably more than any movie.
You do?
Yes. The Never Give Up, Never Surrender. That's a big one. The Miners, not Miners. That one I just love.
Could they be the miners?
Oh, sure. I mean, they're like 3 years old.
Miners, not miners.
You lost me.
And there's a little throwaway where the little guys, the little creatures, when Sigourney's going, oh, they're so cute. And they, in the trailer, you see the fangs come out. Quick, they're going to get Guy.
Hi. Hi, there's a guy.
Did you guys ever watch the show?
See, they're gonna help the little hurt one. Let's get out of here before one of those things kills Guy.
Wait a minute.
Right? They're just running away. Every little. They just.
How about
and they
the
all-
famous? How about the famous dubbing scene where
That's
they
awesome.
show the chompers and Sigourney Weaver goes, and you
Yeah,
hear,
big F
"Screw
word.
this."
Screw this.
Well, screw that.
How are we supposed to get through this?
Well,
they didn't re-film it.
They cut all the swears out. That's
Yeah.
how they made it.
And
true.
I think that was, other than that scene, because I think in that scene it would have been hilarious.
Yeah, it would have been great.
I didn't need it anywhere else.
Well, that's the thing about these ratings of PG. I think we talked about this maybe even last time, but the PG-13 movie, you get one fuck.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so when they do that, like I was thinking, I think it's from the same universe of creators as some of the people that were in the documentary. J.J. Abrams did Super 8.
Yeah.
And so there's one scene, I think it's a kid on the bus. He finds out there really are aliens, and so the camera literally like zooms in on him like a Spielberg moment, and he goes, "Fuck." And, it's like that would have been a perfect use in that
Yeah.
scene. It let Sigourney Weaver do that. If they cursed all the time, that would have been perfectly realistic for frustrated actors and stuff like that. But I didn't watch that movie and think, oh, it's for babies, or oh, it's not adult enough.
Right.
It does everything right. And we have two editors here. I mean, the editing is spectacular in this movie.
Yeah.
It is. It's
They
really
call
well
the editor out in the dock. And the thing about that is they knew it because they didn't cut away from her.
Right.
They let it go.
Right.
And they were in on the joke. They
Right.
That's how smart these people were. Now, whether it was an accident or whatever, they just seemed to make all the right decisions. And even
And
that one,
she
because
was
normally
great.
you could,
Sigourney Weaver was so good in that movie.
Oh.
Because they didn't want her, they didn't want anyone who had done science fiction movies. And
That's what
obviously
they- yeah.
she played Ellen Ripley. But she's like, why can't I play this? It's completely, in fact, it's more like me than Ellen Ripley is.
Yeah.
And she wanted bigger boobs. She wanted the blonde hair.
She
Right.
kept the
wore
blonde hair on.
blonde hair home. And she, I mean, the way she played that was so great. And then the scene that I love is they go through the chompers and they have the beryllium sphere, and then they've got to stop the destruction of the ship.
Right.
And he hits the little button. Is that it? I was expecting something else. That was just so
Right, and
funny.
it has to count down to one because it
Yeah,
always counts
exactly.
down to
Which
one.
is so Star Trek, I don't know. I was
Okay,
expecting
John.
something else. What was
John,
that?
I have a question for you, John.
Yes, Deb.
What was the name of the crystals that powered Star Trek?
Dilithium crystals.
I asked John that, not Sean.
Dilithium crystals. You can't handle it, Captain.
I can. Give us some more power.
We need more power. That's the scene with Tony Shalhoub. They're telling me the sphere is overloading.
Tony Shalhoub is so good.
The complete opposite of Scotty. That was what's so
hell of
funny.
a thing.
Yeah.
Hell of a
Oh,
thing.
that scene, the scene where they get transported and then Guy just starts screaming.
Yeah.
That was unscripted. So Sigourney Weaver's reaction is real because she didn't know that was coming.
So you guys came. Who wants the grand tour? Anybody else?
That was a hell of a thing.
And that was hilarious. He was great.
I like how
It's,
they give him
Flippy's
credit.
coming.
Yeah, they give him credit in the documentary. One of my favorite lines that I've quoted is when he's watching Tony Shalhoub and Missy Pyle start to fool around, and he goes, "Oh, that's not right.
That's not right."
Hey, Fred. Hey, Fred. Oh, that's not right. No.
I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, well, Sam Rockwell asked if he could do that line, and they did it. And then they cut to Sam Rockwell. He's like, I did ask that? Well,
That's a good idea.
Good thing I did.
It was a good suggestion. It's just, that's the thing. There's so many things that can go wrong when you make a movie, when you make a big project, and they made the right decisions. They stuck to them, and then they had the luck that you need to make a successful movie.
And they all, in the documentary, didn't you get the feeling? I know everybody says this, but they all had love for this movie. I mean, they all loved it. And
Yeah,
you could tell the way they were talking about it. And it wasn't the typical, oh, we love it because we're making this movie. This was 20, so many years later, they're talking about it with reverence.
I got the vibe that you get, not quite as much, but the vibe that you get when you watch the Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy documentary, and like that these people loved working together for all these years. They got matching tattoos because they love each other and they're proud of their work. And then, this was people were excited to be doing it. They believed it could work, and then they're proud of it when they look back. And there's a lot of people. I can't think of anything else that Dean Parisot has done. I'm sure that I've seen some of it, but if this is the one thing he did that really is special, that's a hell of a career right there. I mean, really just remarkable.
Yeah. Well, and the actor who met all the people doing the guy who created the language,
Enrico Colantoni.
He was awesome in there. I like
that's exercise he did that created the language that they used his what do you call it when you
his resonator warm up
vocal exercise?
No, that, but what do you call it when you go to get a part? Why can't I think of
audition?
They used his. He hadn't been picked yet, but they used his audition.
Well, wait,
tape.
he met the director, did an audition. They said thank you, and he was walking out, and he stopped and said, "Can I try something?" And he did the voice.
Yes.
And the director was like, "Okay." Then he had everyone else audition using that voice.
No, he showed them his audition tape to get them to all.
So he was great.
It's funny. That's another movie from 1999 that was excellent. Audition, a little bit different tone. I don't know if you guys
slightly different. Yeah,
Audition?
I think that's a little different.
That's
I
a
think
good one.
John would not like that film.
I think John would really have an experience.
Is it a feel-good movie of the summer?
Definitely don't walk out going, "Wow, I feel good."
You walk out going, "Kitty, kitty, kitty, kitty."
Oh,
and then you want to throw up. So
I'm not going to watch that movie.
I also like that Rainn Wilson was in here without a speaking part.
Well, he had a couple of lines.
Did he have? I don't remember.
His part got cut because he ended up doing a pilot for a TV show.
Yep.
So his part got cut big time. He had a much bigger role. And the pilot was awful, he said.
I mean, was he in anything big before this? I mean, I don't know.
No.
I mean, obviously, The Office was a few years after this. So.
Yeah, that was his first movie, as a matter of fact. He looked like a little kid in it.
Yeah.
The casting of this movie is just it's just incredible. Everyone, little roles, big roles. I wrote down a list of all these people, and it's like people that I have seen grow into bigger stuff or that I enjoy, because you've got 4 huge leads. You've got Tim Allen. This is the only on-screen Tim Allen role I actually like. Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman, and Tony Shalhoub, and they all play into their strengths as actors, but they don't do what a lot of the people involved in the production initially thought they were going to do with these characters, and it all works. And then you've got Justin Long, Enrico Colantoni, Robin Sachs, Missy Pyle, Patrick Breen, Rainn Wilson, Sam Lloyd, like all these people that are just incredibly talented, and even in these little roles. I mean, when I saw and fell in love with Veronica Mars, where Enrico Colantoni plays her father, I know he was in other stuff that I didn't watch regularly, like Just Shoot Me. But when he showed up in that show, I turned to my wife and I went, "Oh!" He'll always be Mathazar. He'll always be that character, and it's just great. It's just wonderful.
It's amazing, and it must be for these actors to do like one really great, and that's a surprising hit too.
Mm-hmm.
And that really grew on. And I was listening to a podcast with Tim Robbins, and they were saying, "Well, I guess we have to talk to you about Shawshank," and he was talking about what a surprise that is and how it's an amazing experience for him. He's like, "I never get tired of talking about it because." He goes, because the people who come to talk to me about it often have amazing stories, how it really affected them and everything. Yeah. And I'm sure these people, I mean, it's this was a really well done film. And I think it may have been Drew that said it. So it's a film where every decision worked out right. And when you listen to any other choices they could have made, in retrospect, it sounds like they all sound horrible and they all sound impossible, except maybe Kevin Kline.
Yeah, I think he would have been good. And the thing about it is,
Tim Allen was great though.
Yeah, he was.
you don't expect a film like this because you go in thinking science fiction, comedy, whatever. It's not going to have lasting. It's not going to, and it just did. Yeah, that's what I mean. Every decision, like you guys were saying, every decision, casting, ILM, everything they did to not change the octopuses, to not listen to, the muckety mucks are telling them to dump the Justin Long segments, and they just wouldn't do it.
I think it's octopi.
Octopi.
Yeah,
I think that's a good. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you for
I
that,
appreciate
Debbie.
that.
Thank you, Deborah.
I think. I'm not sure.
So, and again, I'm going
Sounds
to say
right
it
to me.
again. Sam Rockwell,
Yeah.
just unbelievable, and it made the whole movie for me. I just found him.
Can you look around to find anything to make a rudimentary lathe?
Just
Yeah.
all his stuff, and that scream was improvised. That's even better. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's just
Yeah,
great.
he was really funny in that. But
You
the
ever
way they
seen
all played
Moon?
off each other.
I'm sure
And you know what?
Drew's
They
seen
also
Moon.
Yeah, Moon was
they
terrific.
took it
Spectacular.
serious. That's what, when I first saw this, because I'm such a big Star Trek fan, I just assumed they were going to make fun of Star Trek. That's what I
Right.
thought they were going to do.
Right.
So then you get into the movie, you're like, they're playing it straight, right? They're not playing takeoffs. And the production of the movie was really good. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting something much cheesier than that. And even watching it again, I'm going, man, these special effects are really, really good. They hold up now. The makeup holds up now, and the performances hold up. And the way they talk about the performances, the reverence in which they're talking about. I just think that's so cool because people, you can have a hit movie, but are you still talking about it 20 years later? I mean, we
No.
do that a lot with the movies.
And
we watch.
the mistake we're making too, the same, the documentary made this for some reason, don't know why. We're not talking about the villain,
Yeah.
the guy
Great
playing the
point.
villain, and the way
Ron
they
Sachs.
played that and how serious
makeup.
they.
The
What's that?
makeup was terrific.
That appliance was incredible.
Yeah.
And there's death in it and people die in it, and that's at the point where they all realize this is serious, right? We got to take this serious now.
Yeah, when he
And-
says let's prepare a tear harness for the female, like that's really unsettling. And
I went right to
I believe that he's going to hurt Sigourney
Yeah.
Weaver.
The hospital movie popped right in my head at that one. Hospital right up there. So,
I was waiting for Jane Fonda to walk in, I mean, I was dying for that.
yeah, I mean, it did get serious, and it ended. It didn't end it ended kind of, not jokey. It ended like you said.
No,
Very,
they got their
emotional.
series back. They
Right.
got their series
They got
back.
the series back, and
But they saved the Thermians. They defeated
The termites.
They did
the termites, right? The termites.
right.
so.
The Terminates or
All
whatever.
right, look, this film, I think we're all going to give thumbs up.
Well, let me
Yeah.
ask one question
Yeah, go ahead.
because my wife also likes this movie. She doesn't like it as much as I do. My wife also doesn't care about Star Trek, and that's another thing about this movie. This is a really great Star Trek movie, but it's also a really great movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And there has been a lot of Star Trek in the past 10 years that has not been very good, or like Star Trek Picard, actively bad. And so it was kind of, I haven't watched the Orville. I can't speak to that. I've heard that's the best Star Trek show that isn't made by Star Trek. And this is definitely the best Star Trek movie that isn't made by Star Trek. And watching it today actually made me want to go back and watch some more Next Gen or something, because it just feels right. And that's really satisfying.
Can I ask one Star Trek question for people?
Dilithium crystals.
Yes, Sean.
No. What do you guys feel, and ladies as well, about the increasing the special effects on the old ones? Are you offended by that?
I'm not offended by it. It doesn't. It's not like what Lucas did with Star Wars,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
which is completely different.
Han shot first.
Yeah, I think the fact that they could make them a little bit better. What I like about that is maybe younger people wouldn't watch it because the effects are 1960s, and maybe they'll watch it if they're a little bit better now. But the beauty about
back
that
up,
show
wait a minute.
is,
Oh, slow down. They're changing the special effects. in
yeah,
the
they're
TV
cleaning them up.
series?
They're using digital.
Well,
So instead of using the same stagnant shot of the ship every time,
Yeah.
they've created new shots.
Oh,
It's
but
actually
that-
pretty impressive.
The only
But
thing that's good about that is that they're doing that because they're actually taking the old series, and I mean the original series and then the Next Gen stuff, and they're up-resing them. they're refinishing them in high def, which means it'll look better than it ever looked. And if they want to up, and you have to upgrade the side effects, the special effects, because if you have a high def transfer of an episode of television and the computer enterprise is still in standard definition, it isn't going to work. So the fact that they're going back and taking care to do that is more important to me than what they do.
Okay, I didn't know they're up-resing the whole show.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, Deborah.
okay, I have a point to make in respect to what you said, because I didn't know they were doing that. But why don't we just take the Mona Lisa that Leonardo
DiCaprio.
Da Vinci.
Leonardo da
Let's
Octopi.
just fix her smile and make her teeth like brothers.
Blah, blah. That's not a good
Come on,
analogy.
that's art. You can't change art.
Star Trek was
Art.
lucky that they shot it on film.
Look,
Right.
it's like going.
Yeah.
I don't believe in colorizing films because a director makes a choice to put in black and white.
Right.
I don't believe in colorizing them, but I don't. That's not a good analogy.
What about the other way, making them black and white?
No, I think that's wrong. If they wanted to make it black and white, they would have.
Or they'll do both.
What I like about Star Trek and why the effects don't
But
matter.
they're
that
not
much.
doing that to bring kids on board. Kids are not going to buy into Star Trek, even if it's HD and beautiful.
They're
Star
doing
Trek.
it
wrong.
It's not gonna
because
do
their
it.
They're trying to
parents are
expand
still
who's gonna
buying
watch
Star
it.
Trek.
That's
Kids
who
will
they're doing
buy it on
for.
Blu-ray and they'll buy it on 4K.
And the fact that Star Trek works isn't because of the special effects. It works because of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, the relationship between those three.
Well, that's
which
why
most science
Galaxy
fiction
Quest
shows
worked on-
completely
that's why-
screw up. Look
that's
at the
why
best Star
Galaxy
Trek
Quest-
movies, Wrath of Khan.
Yes,
And
it
that's
is.
most like the TV show.
Yeah.
The dynamic between the characters is the most like the TV show. That's why that is the best out of them all.
That's a hell
And
of
that's
an
why
action
this
movie.
movie
You know, it's
works.
funny.
That's got a
I
good
saw-
yell in it too.
Review of that. That first Star Trek movie, I don't remember it being good at all. But I saw it in a sneak preview, Wrath of Khan. And my God, we all loved it. The audience was like, stood up and applauded. You know, I mean, I've never seen such a response to a movie. You know,
Well,
it's like,
that's
my
because
God.
Harv Bennett produced that. And after Robert Wise directed the first Star Trek, and he didn't know Star Trek. So what they wanted was, because of Star Wars, they wanted a special effects extravaganza. And the special effects in that movie were spectacular. When you see that giant ship for the first time, incredible. But none of the characters acted like anything in the TV show. So then when they did Wrath of Khan, the budget was cut by 2/3, I think. And it was a much better movie because they went back to the TV show, and it had a great villain. And ILM did the special effects, unlike the first one. And it was just a good movie because you cared about the people in it. And that's like Star Wars.
And it had those
Why
ear
does everyone
things
like
too.
the first 3 Star Wars movies when the rest of them are garbage? Because you don't care about anybody in the movies. The
Right.
first 3, you care about the people in the movies. And that's why this movie works. You care about them.
Well, you also have consistent people behind the scenes, and like the best, in my opinion, the best original Star Trek movies are 2, 4, and 6. So Nicholas Meyer directed 2 and 6, and he wrote all 3 of them. So when they found their voice with Wrath of Khan, they didn't use it every time for the next movies, but when they used it, it was like Wrath of Khan is a great action movie. Star Trek 4, wow, this is actually a funny movie and has good action. And then Star Trek 6 is this crazy Cold War allegory that's so obvious and also a hell of an action movie. So, you know, I think it's okay to go outside of what people expect, but it's nice when a series finds what works and then they keep doing it. Which is not, you know, sometimes that's not going to happen because you're making Star Wars over 50 years now. So obviously you're not going to have the same people, but there, you can tell when somebody cares. I mean, George Lucas did something special with the original Star Wars trilogy and then something not special with the prequel trilogy because he didn't have a producer that said to him, that's not a good idea.
Yeah, nobody said no.
These movies and any movies work because there's a team of people that balance off each other.
That's why The Mandalorian works. John Favreau cares about Star Wars.
Right.
And you can see it in that show,
And
unlike
Dave-
the movies.
And Dave Filoni, his co-executive producer, he and X-Wing pilot, he
directs some of them too, doesn't he?
And he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of
Yeah.
it, so that John Favreau and other people can rely on him. And
You can't just crap on the fans and then expect them to take it just because they slap the name on it. It
Right.
doesn't work.
Well, that's like that last film of the trilogy, the third trilogy. I was actively offended.
It
by
was
it.
awful.
It was trash.
They tried to
They were
correct the
making-
mistakes from the first 2 movies in one movie. None of it worked.
Yeah.
But because you slap Star Wars on it, everyone's going to love it. And they didn't. And they faced a lot
They
of backlash
forgot
from
the
it.
characters. They forgot to pay off make us care about them. And
Never give up, never surrender. That's what I say.
Well, that's why The Mandalorian really is something special.
It is. It's awesome.
Set off the nerd alert.
Yeah,
I love that.
Well, also,
I
Debbie,
didn't know there was a nerd alert. Okay.
Debbie mentioned the Mona Lisa teeth. I don't know if you guys noticed, but in the documentary, if you have seen it, maybe you noticed it, and if you haven't, you should watch it because it's very good. But you'll also not be able to not see this. Everybody's teeth are quite amazing. Like if you are a Hollywood success and you've worked behind camera, you've spent a lot of money on veneers and different things, and it's just amazing. Like some of the actors, you're like, oh, they still have human teeth, but a lot of the producers and other people,
I'm kind of offended by that.
How the hell
And that's why I like the masks now, because it covers all that up. So
Exactly.
Nobody worries. Nobody cares. All right.
Mona Lisa
Great
can
film.
speak.
Did we love this film or not?
I think it was pretty good.
Yes.
I think it was pretty good.
Yippee-ki-yay all
And
around.
this is for Michelle too. She
Okay.
All right.
Sean, you got the next pick. We got to get something dirty and
Sean,
New
if you're
York
going to
City.
pick a peck and paw, then do the Wild Bunch. Don't do Straw Dogs.
Oh,
Oh,
Hey, I
love
tell
the
you,
Wild Bunch.
one of my friends, one of my oldest friends, she saw that film when she was in the 7th grade, Straw Dogs.
Oh, my.
After listening to our Clute episode and everybody talking about films that left them twisted, she's like, oh, I'd love to come on your podcast and talk about Straw
let's go.
Dogs.
Bring her on.
Because it left her twisted. So, or at least, out of sorts for a while.
Podcast
You know,
has
I'm
become a roller
probably
coaster of
gonna go-
emotions.
I usually try to recommend films that are universally considered good. Well, that may not appear that way, but I'm maybe going with a film that a lot of people think is bad next, a horror movie. So
Are you going to leave us hanging?
I'm probably going to go with the original Phantasm from 1979.
oh no. You're saying two things. No, you don't get two things.
No, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna bring on a guest because I expect that some people are not going to like this film. And I got a guy who really believes in this movie. He's a writer.
You're talking
He's
about
done a lot of
Phantasm?
comic books. What?
You're talking about Phantasm now?
Yeah.
What was the budget on that? About $200?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I think it may have been 300.
Everybody got paid in ice cream, I think.
Listen, our old friend Al.
That's less of a budget than
Al
the
has
Paul
the
Dano.
intro.
I'm gonna,
I think you're right.
I have to contact my friend to see if he's available. I think the film is free on
Well,
Tubi.
yeah.
I wonder
sequels are.
if saying we're going to do this film is going to get us more views or not. I'm trying to figure out Phantasm.
No one
Where's the
listens this
scale?
way.
Well, we'll
Huh?
keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on the
You know what?
viewership of Phantasm across streaming services, and if it peaks, then we know that
Yeah,
that
we
waiting
Phantasm.
list come on.
It's Phantasm. I like
Phantasm.
that. Phantasm.
I saw that
You know
at
what?
the back.
I
I
also
saw
want
that.
to reach out and see if Reggie Bannister is available.
Oh, yeah. We love Reggie. Who's Reggie?
He's
He's,
Reggie, the ice cream man.
The ice cream man. He's a great guy. I mean, he's like a fabulous
Who's Reggie?
character overall.
We're deep into genre actors.
Do I know
now.
who that is? I don't know who that is.
Must be.
Nobody
Must be.
might write-
knows who he is.
I don't know
If
who
we,
it is.
if we could
Sean-
get him on
Sean
this
wrote
podcast,
Sean wrote a movie for him, but he turned it down.
Hey, Sean, why don't
No.
we do a crossover and bring me the head of Reggie Bannister?
you know.
All right.
So I'm going to see if my friend is available for next Tuesday. If it's not that, it'll be the Wild Bunch. Because we haven't done a Western
I'm ready
yet,
for
have we?
Straw Dogs. Let's
Love the
go.
Wild Bunch.
All right.
What are we waiting for?
All right.
Yeah.
Let us know. Let us know soon. Anyway, good job, everybody. Have a good, safe week.
Yeah.
Never give up. Never surrender.
Never give up.
Wojo, feel better.
You are. Yeah. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.